Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! In the soft morning light, a visage emerged from meticulous transformation, ready to face the world anew. It was a ritual, one that awakened her sense of self. As careful fingers glided over lashes, she took a moment to embrace the quiet determination rising within. With each brushstroke, a new layer was added, masking, enhancing, and creating a facade that felt like a second skin. Foundation to sculpt her contours, concealer for her flaws, and lips stained in a bold declaration. This moment was hers. A deep breath later, she confronted herself, confident the mirror would reflect what she truly felt inside. The smoky eye effect had taken 6 YouTube tutorials and countless practice sessions to master, but the results spoke for themselves. Another deep breath. "You can do this," the reflection whispered back. The blue button-down shirt and charcoal slacks offered a familiar comfort against the unfamiliar territory of the full face of makeup. Conservative clothing, bold face, a first step that had been months in planning. Ethan slipped his phone into his pocket, grabbed his messenger bag, and headed for the door. The weight of the makeup felt strange, a constant awareness that something was different. The berry lipstick left a mark on his coffee cup. The mascara made his eyes feel heavy when he blinked. But underneath it all was a sensation that had been missing for so long. Rightness. The drive to Morgan & Associates marketing felt longer than usual. Each stoplight an opportunity for second-guessing. Each green light a push forward into inevitable confrontation. The parking garage was half empty. Still early. Still time to reconsider. The elevator ride to the 14th floor was mercifully empty. Reception was quiet except for the clicking of Denise's keyboard. She glanced up, did a double take, and then smiled. "Good morning," she said, voice carefully neutral but eyes curious. "Morning," Ethan replied, voice catching slightly. The first hurdle cleared. The marketing department was a series of low-walled cubicles surrounding a central collaborative space. Most of the team arrived between 8:30 and 9, but Ethan always preferred getting in early, having the space to himself before the energy of 12 creative professionals filled the room. Today, that preference felt like a strategic advantage. He settled at his desk, arranged his workspace with deliberate precision, and opened his laptop. The screen reflected his image back at him. Smoky eyes, defined cheekbones, berry lips. Different, beautiful. Footsteps approached from behind. His muscles tensed. "Ethan, I thought I saw you come in." Michael from accounts paused beside the cubicle, coffee in hand. His eyes widened slightly, then narrowed in consideration. "Hey, can I get your input on the Harrington campaign before the meeting? Their numbers came back and..." He stopped mid-sentence, seeming to register the makeup more fully. "Sorry, is today special for some reason?" "No," Ethan said, voice steadier than expected. "Just trying something new." Michael nodded slowly. "Cool. So, about those numbers." The conversation shifted to work, just like that. No judgment, no questions, just acceptance and quarterly projections. When Michael left, Ethan realized he'd been holding his breath. One by one, the office filled. Each interaction followed a similar pattern. Initial surprise, a moment of adjustment, then business as usual. A few compliments filtered in. Rhea from design mentioned his perfect winged eyeliner. Thomas from strategy nodded approvingly at the color coordination. By 10 o'clock, Ethan had settled into a rhythm. the initial anxiety giving way to cautious relief. The makeup no longer felt like a statement, just a part of his appearance for the day. He immersed himself in work, the familiar comfort of marketing strategies and client presentations. "Team meeting in 5?" announced Christine, the department head, poking her head into the collaborative space before retreating to the conference room. Ethan gathered his notes, suddenly aware again of his appearance. The morning's individual encounters were one thing. Facing the entire team at once felt like another challenge entirely. The conference room had floor-to-ceiling windows along one wall, offering a stunning view of the city skyline. Ethan chose a seat facing away from the windows, not wanting the harsh sunlight to highlight his novice makeup application. The team filtered in gradually. Some glanced his way. Others seemed not to notice anything different. Christine entered last, tablet in hand, already mid-sentence about quarterly goals. She paused when she saw Ethan, her professional facade momentarily cracking into surprise. Then, remarkably, she smiled. Not the forced smile of discomfort, but something more genuine. "Ethan, that eyeliner is immaculate. I've been trying to get that wing right for 20 years. She settled at the head of the table. "Now, let's talk about the Bennett account." The meeting proceeded normally. Contributions were recognized, ideas were exchanged, assignments were distributed. When Ethan spoke about his strategy for an upcoming campaign, his voice grew steadier with each word. Nobody seemed distracted by his appearance. They engaged with his ideas, not his eyeshadow. After the meeting, Christine asked him to stay behind. The familiar request suddenly felt loaded with potential consequences. "I wanted to talk to you about the presentation next week," she began, gathering her materials. Then she paused, studying him with thoughtful eyes. "But first, I want to say something. That makeup looks professional and well applied. It complements your features without being distracting. If this is something you're exploring, you have my support." The words landed like permission Ethan hadn't realized he was seeking. "Thank you," he replied, the simple acknowledgement feeling inadequate for the weight of the moment. "Now, about that presentation." The rest of the day continued in much the same vein, moments of normalcy interrupted by fleeting instances of recognition. By closing time, Ethan felt both exhausted and exhilarated. The makeup that had felt so dramatic that morning now seemed like a natural extension of himself. Driving home, he allowed himself to fully process the day's events. The support had been unexpected. The acceptance, even more so. Something had shifted, not just in how others saw him, but in how he saw himself. That night, as he carefully removed each layer of makeup, revealing the face he'd always known underneath, Ethan made a decision. This wouldn't be a one-time experiment. This was the first step on a journey. The following week brought subtle changes. A tinted moisturizer instead of heavy foundation, a neutral eyeshadow, clear lip gloss, small steps, testing boundaries, gauging reactions. The marketing team continued their matter-of-fact acceptance. Occasionally, someone would compliment a particular color choice or ask about a technique. Rhea from design even asked for mascara recommendations during lunch break. "Your lashes always look so natural but defined," she said, picking at her salad. "Mine always clump." The conversation felt surreal, discussing mascara formulations like it was the most normal thing in the world for him to have an opinion on the subject. "I found this one that has a really fine brush," Ethan explained, pulling out his phone to show her the brand. "It separates better than the thicker ones." By the third week, Ethan had established a routine. Makeup every day, varying in intensity depending on his mood and schedule. The blue button-down shirts gave way to softer colors: lavender, sage, cream. The charcoal slacks remained, a compromise between expression and comfort. Each small change brought its own revelation. The lavender shirt made his brown eyes appear warmer. The sage brought out unexpected highlights in his brown hair. The cream softened his features in a way that felt right. It was during the 4th week that Ethan first wore nail polish to work, a subtle, clear coat with the faintest shimmer. Later that same week, he added a rose gold shade that complemented his warm skin tone. The changes were incremental, but significant. Each one a step towards something that felt increasingly authentic. At home, the experimentation went further. Online shopping packages brought flowing blouses, a pencil skirt, low-heeled pumps that miraculously came in his size. Each item was carefully considered, tried on, assessed not just for appearance but for the feeling it evoked. Some evenings, he would sit at his vanity, a recent purchase, replacing the utilitarian bathroom counter, and practice different makeup looks. Sometimes bold and dramatic, sometimes subtle and natural. The brown hair that had always seemed unremarkable became a canvas for different styling techniques: soft waves, sleek, straight sections, half-up styles secured with elegant clips. In these private moments, a name began to form in his mind. Not Ethan, but something that felt more aligned with this emerging self. Natalia. The name came to him during a particularly successful makeup session, when the person in the mirror looked so right, so aligned with his inner sense of self, that Ethan no longer seemed to fit. Natalia had a softness, an elegance that resonated with this new presentation. At work, he remained Ethan, competent, respected, increasingly comfortable in his evolving appearance. At home, he began to think of himself as Natalia, testing the name in whispered conversations with his reflection. The dual existence created a tension, a sense of incompleteness. Each morning, putting on makeup and masculine clothing felt like a compromise. Each evening, removing the masculine elements and fully embracing femininity felt like coming home. By the end of the month, the decision had crystallized. It was time for Natalia to go to work. The cream blouse hung in the closet, tags removed but unworn until this moment. The black pencil skirt, carefully selected for its professional cut and modest length, waited beside it. The matching nude pumps with their sensible 2-inch heels completed the ensemble. Today would be different. Today, Ethan wouldn't be going to work. Natalia would. The morning routine took longer than usual. Each element needed to be perfect. Foundation smoothed over freshly moisturized skin. Concealer brightened under-eye circles. Powder set everything in place. Contour sculpted cheekbones. Highlight caught the light on the high points of the face. A neutral brown eyeshadow with subtle shimmer. Winged eyeliner, precise and dramatic. Mascara coating each lash. Berry lipstick, now a signature. The brown hair was styled in loose waves that framed the face softly. Small pearl earrings adorned previously unused piercings. A delicate gold necklace with a small pendant rested at the hollow of the throat. The reflection in the full-length mirror showed a complete transformation. Natalia studied herself carefully, adjusting the blouse, smoothing the skirt, ensuring everything was in place. The outfit was conservative by any standard, nothing revealing, nothing inappropriate for a professional setting, yet the statement it made was unmistakable. This wasn't experimentation anymore. This was identity. The drive to work felt like heading into battle. Each mile brought a mixture of anticipation and dread. Natalia had informed Christine of the planned change the previous week, a conversation that had been surprisingly supportive but couldn't prepare her for the reality of today. "I'll support you," Christine had assured her. "But I can't control everyone's reactions. Are you prepared for that?" The question had seemed theoretical then. Now, pulling into the parking garage, it felt immediate and daunting. The elevator ride was no longer empty. 2 account executives from the 7th floor stepped in, engaged in conversation about client deliverables. They glanced at Natalia, nodded politely, and continued their discussion. No recognition, no connection to Ethan from marketing, just a woman in business attire, unremarkable in the corporate setting. The reception area was busier this morning. Denise looked up, started to offer her usual greeting, then paused as recognition dawned. "Good morning," Natalia said, voice pitched slightly higher than Ethan's usual tone, a modulation she'd been practicing. "Good morning," Denise replied, recovery quick and professional. Her eyes held questions, but her smile was genuine. "Christine mentioned you might be making some changes. You look lovely." The simple affirmation sent a wave of relief through Natalia. "Thank you. Is the team in yet?" "Most of them. There's coffee in the break room." The marketing department's collaborative space was half filled, conversations buzzing about weekend plans and project deadlines. Natalia paused at the entrance, suddenly aware of how exposed she felt. Rhea noticed her first, did a double take, then broke into a wide smile. "Ethan, you look amazing." The name landed awkwardly, a reminder of the transition still in progress. "Actually," she began, voice steadier than expected. "I'm going by Natalia now." Rhea's smile never faltered. "Natalia, it suits you. I love that blouse. The cream color really works with your complexion." One by one, the team registered her presence. Reactions varied. Surprise, curiosity, confusion, support. But none showed the disgust or rejection she had feared. Michael from accounts asked about her weekend, as if nothing had changed. Thomas complimented her hair. Christine emerged from her office, assessed the situation with a quick glance, and announced that the morning meeting would start in 10 minutes, creating a natural break in the potential awkwardness. Natalia settled at her desk, arranging her workspace with the same precision Ethan always had. The familiar action in unfamiliar clothing created a strange dissonance, a bridging of past and present selves. The day proceeded with surprising normalcy. There were awkward moments. A colleague using the wrong name, a client on a video call showing momentary confusion, the inevitable bathroom question that Natalia navigated by simply using the single-occupancy restroom down the hall. But these were outweighed by the moments of simple acceptance, of being addressed as Natalia, of discussing work without her appearance being the focus. During the lunch break, Christine called her into the office. "How's it going?" she asked, genuine concern in her voice. "Better than I expected," Natalia admitted. "Everyone's been kind." "I'm glad to hear it." Christine tapped her pen against her desk thoughtfully. "HR has some paperwork for you when you're ready. Name change forms, updated badge, that sort of thing."
"No rush. Whenever you feel settled."
The acknowledgement that this wasn't a temporary situation, that the company was prepared to formalize her transition, brought unexpected tears to Natalia's eyes. "Thank you," she managed, blinking rapidly to preserve her carefully applied makeup. Christine smiled softly. "You're one of our best, Natalia. That hasn't changed." By the end of the day, Natalia felt both exhausted and exhilarated. the constant awareness of being observed, the mental energy required to navigate new social dynamics, the emotional processing of each interaction, all had taken their toll. Yet, beneath the fatigue was a profound sense of rightness, of alignment between inner self and outer presentation that had been missing for so long. Driving home, she allowed herself to fully process the day's events. The cream blouse that had felt so daring that morning now seemed like a natural part of her wardrobe. The pencil skirt that had required practice to walk in now felt comfortable. The modest heels that had seemed intimidating were now just her work shoes. That night, as she carefully removed her makeup, Natalia studied her reflection. The face looking back was the same one that had always been there, but now it had permission to express itself fully. The brown eyes, once guarded, now held confidence. The brown hair, once just a feature, now framed a face that matched the self she had always felt inside. This wasn't the end of the journey. There would be more adjustments, more conversations, more paperwork. There would be family to tell, friends outside of work to inform, a world beyond Morgan and Associates to navigate. But today had proven what Natalia had hoped, that authenticity was possible, that acceptance could be found, that the person she had always been could finally be seen. The following months brought a gradual settling into the new normal. Natalia established her professional wardrobe, a rotation of blouses, skirts, slacks, and dresses, all in keeping with the office's business casual environment. Her makeup routine became more efficient, the once daunting process now completed with practiced ease. The office adapted quickly. Occasional slip-ups with names or pronouns were corrected gently and forgotten promptly. New clients who never knew Ethan accepted Natalia without question. The team's support extended beyond mere tolerance to active inclusion, invitations to ladies' nights, recommendations for women's professional development seminars, the easy camaraderie of shared experiences. At home, Natalia continued her evolution. The apartment that had once reflected Ethan's minimalist aesthetic gradually transformed. Softer furnishings, warmer colors, plants bringing life to formerly empty corners. The closet underwent the most dramatic change. Masculine clothing steadily replaced by pieces that felt right, that expressed the person she had always been beneath layers of expectation and conformity. Family reactions had varied. Her mother had been surprised, but ultimately supportive, asking thoughtful questions about Natalia's journey and offering to go shopping together. Her father needed more time, his initial discomfort giving way to grudging acceptance, and eventually to a gruff pride in his daughter's courage. Her younger brother had shrugged and asked if she was still going to watch football with him on Sundays. The simplest and perhaps most meaningful acceptance of all. Friends outside work showed similar patterns. Some immediately embraced Natalia, some needed time to adjust their understanding. A few drifted away. The losses hurt, but they were balanced by unexpected gains. New friendships formed through support groups, reconnections with distant acquaintances who shared similar experiences, deeper bonds with those who stood by her through the transition. 6 months after that first day as Natalia, Christine called her into the office again. "I have a proposition for you," she began, sliding a folder across the desk. "The Westfield account needs a new lead. They've specifically requested you." Natalia raised an eyebrow in surprise. Westfield was one of their biggest clients, a company known for its traditional values and conservative leadership. "They asked for me? By name?" Christine nodded, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Apparently your presentation last month impressed them. They said you brought fresh perspective and authentic innovation to the table." The irony wasn't lost on either of them. The authenticity that Natalia had feared might damage her career was now being cited as a professional asset. That's unexpected, Natalia admitted, opening the folder to scan the project details. Is it? Christine leaned back in her chair. You've always been brilliant at your job, Natalia. That hasn't changed. But there's something different about your work these past few months. A confidence. A directness that wasn't there before. Clients respond to that. The observation resonated with Natalia's own experience. The energy once spent on maintaining a facade, on suppressing essential parts of herself, was now available for creativity, for connection, for excellence in her work. Being Natalia wasn't just personally fulfilling, it was professionally liberating. I'll take the account, she decided, closing the folder with newfound determination. I thought you might. Christine smiled fully now. There's something else. The executive team is creating a diversity committee to review company policies. They've asked me to recommend someone from marketing. I'd like to put your name forward, if you're interested. The offer represented more than a professional opportunity. It was a chance to help shape an environment where others might find the acceptance she had experienced, to transform her personal journey into broader change. I'd be honored, Natalia replied, throat tight with unexpected emotion. Walking back to her desk, Natalia caught a glimpse of herself in the reflective surface of the conference room windows. Brown hair styled in a professional updo, makeup enhancing rather than masking her features, a forest green dress that complemented her figure without drawing undue attention. The image was so natural, so right, that for a moment she could hardly remember a time when she'd presented any other way. The computer screen showed an email notification. The Westfield team confirming their meeting for the following week. Natalia opened her calendar, scheduling time to prepare, to research, to develop the innovative approach they'd come to expect from her. This was her life now. Not perfect, not without challenges, but authentic in a way she had once only dreamed possible. Each day brought new affirmations of her identity, new opportunities to fully embody the person she had always been beneath the surface. Natalia smoothed her dress, tucked a strand of brown hair behind her ear, and began to work. The journey hadn't ended. In many ways, it was just beginning. But now she moved forward as herself, no longer divided, no longer compromising, no longer hiding. Now, she moved forward as Natalia.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!